Moving on now from the startups world to the retail industry. Is there anyone in this room who has not visited a Shoppers Stop? I doubt it. We grew up on clothing and accessories from this chain. Our next speaker is recognized as the pioneer of the retail boom in India. S Nagesh, or as he is popularly known as BSN, has been with Shoppers Stop as its first employee since its inception in 1991 and until 2009 when he was the MD there. Currently, Nagesh is the non-executive chairman of Shoppers Stop. He is also the founder of TRRAIN, the Trust for Retailers and Retail Association of India. TRRAIN is a government ATG-approved charity working towards the welfare of people who work in retail, both retailers and retail associates. He recently authored a book which was published in 2024 titled Serve, Business from the Heart, The Shoppers Stop Way. The book is available here today, and Mr. Nagesh is also available here to sign the books during the lunch break. He was also instrumental in setting up the Retailers Association of India, an industry body of modern retailers, and has been the chairman of RAI from its inception. Today at Spectra, the topic of his talk is inspired from the title of his book, Business from the Heart. Joining him on stage after his keynote address will be Archana Jain, Senior Vice President and Bangalore Branch Head of Concept PR. Nagesh, sir, may we have you here?
Namaskar, and thank you very much for inviting me, Amit. It was a chance interaction a week back, and I'm here. And I must say that staying back or coming early was very fruitful for me because the last session was so much reminding me about what happened to retail between 1991 when we started and 2000. It was a startup of that time. I mean, we were the first brick and mortar retailer, and there was no policy for retail. There was nothing that was happening in retail. And finally, we had to actually form an association called Retail Association of India in 2005 to get the whole public policies towards retail. Born in Bangalore, brought up in UP, studied in UP, started my career with makers of VIP luggage, Blowplast, spent 3 years there. Then I spent 3 years with Sony, selling televisions, and finally with Orson selling footwear. I used to run 128 stores of small 500 square feet each when I was running the Corona footwear. Interestingly, at some point I said, I'm getting tired of running these small stores of 500 square feet. I wish somebody in this country opens a 50,000 square feet store. Yeah, it was a dream. If you ask me in hindsight, it was pagalpan. I run a 500 square feet, and I was dreaming if somebody allows me to run a 50,000 square feet store. And remember, this India, we are very famous as adding zeros. I mean, that's the way we actually work. You could go and meet a startup and you say, how big? It says $1 million. What's your ambition? $100 million. Every $100 million, guys, I want to be $1 billion. And it's just adding zeros. I also added a zero. But it so happened that I was talking to my boss. And I was sharing this, that I wish somebody opens a 50,000 square feet. And my boss one day called me and said, you know what? In Mumbai, my friend is a headhunter. And she says there is somebody who's wanting to open a 50,000 square feet. Yeah. So that word 50,000 square feet brought me to Mumbai. And the lesson I learned is, when you're talking to your boss, be honest and frank. He may himself help you or herself help you to really rise up the ladder. So here I come to Mumbai in 1991. And I'm given a theater complex. And those of you who are from Mumbai know Andheri Ambar Oscar Minor Theater. This was a theater which was closed for many, many years. And I'm given the keys of this, and then I'm told start a commercial business in 90 days' time. I joined in July, and the target was to start a business in 90 days' time.
Better you use this one.
Start a business in 90 days' time, and no company, no employee, no colleague, no brand name, nothing that you can think of in terms of setting up a business. And here is a 30-year-old guy who's come for the first time in Mumbai to start this business. So the biggest thing I was having, was ignorant about this business. So if you ask me what was my qualification when I started Shoppers, I was an ignorant CEO or general manager. And what that ignorance did for me was that I was so easily able to say, I don't know. And there's absolutely no difficulty, absolutely no difficulty. I'm not from fashion, I'm not from apparel, I'm not from big retail, I've never been abroad, so I don't know what department store is. But I know this much, that if you ask somebody that I don't know, and somebody will help you, then probably you'll get to know. So the second learning was that, do we have the humility to say, I don't know? And ask somebody. But at the most, what will happen when you ask somebody? He'll say, no. Koi baat nahi na. Out of 10 people, probably 9 will say no, but probably 1 will say yes, and that yes could become very big yes. Yeah. So that's how we started off. We started off with about 13 employees. And our time came when there was 20 days left, and we had to take a name. We didn't have, our agency contract had provided hundreds of names, but we couldn't finalize a single name. So I called my chairman and said, if I don't have a name by tomorrow, we can't start this, because shops and establishment, cash memos, all those things that you have to do to start up a business in India. Provident fund, so many things. Anyhow, that night I got a call. My wife is in Boston. In front of her room, there is a shop called Stop and Shop. How do you like it? I said, no, we can't copy. Let's call it, he said, let's call it Shop and Stop. I said, no. Let's make it Shopper's Stop. So night 11 o'clock, we decided the name. Contract was very upset. He said, for 3 months, we have been working, thousands name, and one night you come out with Shopper's Stop. What's the big learning there? At that point of time, nobody liked the name. Agency didn't like the name because 2 words, tongue twister. Okay, but today we call it as a brand name. So the brand is actually an outcome of a relationship that you build with the customers. Okay, our brand is an outcome of the relationship that you build with the stakeholders. Any name, what is orange, what is lemon, what is apple? I mean, it's just impossible to think that you could create a brand, but these are all billion, trillion-dollar brands. So that was the second lesson that I got in terms of brand. The third thing that happened was, because I was not from apparel or fashion, okay, all the people they selected, 13 of us who started the company. Actually, in the book, you have a picture of the 13 startup employees of the company. And we found the picture. We actually went around to see if we can get the names of the people who actually started up 33 years back. We found them, and finally we put that in the book, and you'll actually see that. Because all of us came from non-apparel, non-department store business, none of us had any baggage. There was absolutely no baggage. So we did not know what to do. So when you do not know what to do, okay, you don't have a baggage, there's no experience to say, no, if I do this, I'm going to fail because this didn't happen in my earlier company. Nothing. All of us were fresh. So anything that we had to do, anything was possible. I mean, in our dictionary at that point, and to a very great extent, many, many years, because almost everything that happened in this country for the first time in modern retail happened at Shoppers Stop. Everything. And everything happened of a scale which is global, although this was a very, very small company. And it was only because humko pata hi nahi tha ki you can't do this. So it was so easy to say we will do it. And today when I talk to people, I mean, I was in a big images fashion forum retail, and we're talking of starting a store, a concept, a company, a business in 90 days and putting it on. This is not a business being operated from back office. Front end, your live customers are coming in. They say, pagalpan hai. Haan, hum pagal hi the us time. Okay, that is the thing. So the other thing that I want to share with you, and it's important, especially for startups. These are big dreams. And dreams are of multiple kinds. Okay, one dream is saying, I want to become this. That's for you, I, me, myself. Okay. The other dream is to say, I want to do this because my parents will be very happy. You go slightly move from I, me, and say somebody else. And the third dream is to say, मैं दुनिया बदल दूंगा. Okay, the third dream is the dream which all of us hesitate to get into. And that's the real pagalpan. And this can only happen if you have that pagalpan, junoon, or passion to do that. And today I was meeting a youngster, not young anymore, a startup entrepreneur, his fourth. And we were talking of saying, how can we change life for 8 million Kiranas? Okay, it's absolutely pagalpan. 8 million Kiranas in this country, can you change their lives? But there's somebody who's thinking like that, and that's the pagalpan. And he's been working on it, and he wants to work, and he wants to meet. I was in Whitefield, and I said, I'm going here, I don't have time. He said, okay, I'll come there. We had breakfast together, he traveled together with me and dropped me. So he got 2 hours, okay, and we discussed everything. And I was enjoying the discussion with a young techie. So that pagalpan and junoon is very, very critical, and you have to dream big. And I mentioned this in the story. Anyhow, that's the way the business started. We had the name, we had a set of employees, and there was no ecosystem to support a startup like this that time. There was nobody to start up. So when I went into the market, everybody rejected. And the rejection was very simple. You're in Mumbai. Are you a Kachi or a Marwadi? No, I'm a Kannadiga. Okay. Your founders, do they know apparel business? No, they don't know apparel business. You're wearing a tie and suit. In Mumbai, you don't do retail dukandari wearing a tie and suit. Look at the way people recognize and judge you and reject you. Yeah. So I went to a conference of apparel. And they didn't allow me inside because they said, you can't come in because this is only meant for apparel retailers. I said, but I want to start apparel retailing. They said, no, you're not allowed. When you start apparel retailing, you can come in. Anyway, after 15 years, I was the chief guest cutting the ribbon. And then they asked me, what is that one suggestion you have? I said, Zindagi mein kabhi bhi agar koi 30 saal ka Nagesh aayega na, to usko andar aane do aap. Yeah, if you had helped me that time, probably I could have done much, much more better. Yeah. So again, opportunity, okay. I mean, you have to go and grab the opportunity. And if you get a rejection, you don't have to come back and cry about it. Because challenges are actually situations, they're not challenges. And disruptions are outcomes and you don't plan for it. I mean, a lot of talk is happening on disruptions. Like today also this guy was saying, I'm going to disrupt. I said, no, you can't disrupt. If you do a good job, somebody else gets disrupted. I mean, show me one plan where I said I can go and disrupt. No. And every challenge, I do sessions like this with students. Every challenge is an opportunity. It only depends on how you look at it. Because it's a situation. You look at the situation as a challenge. Somebody else looks at it as an opportunity. So the journey actually started like this. And finally, we had this name Shopper Stop. And we started building the business. There was no insight that we had for customers. So I used to stand outside the door of shoppers and interact with customers and talk to them. And after some time, they got fed up of my asking questions, so I started doing lucky drips, and then we should take name and chits and addresses of theirs. And one day, after 5-6 years, my secretary resigned, a new secretary joined me and said, sir, there's a box of chits lying in your office. What can I do? Can I destroy it? And I actually looked at the chits. Okay, there were 40,000 chits in that box. Small chits, name, address, and telephone number. That time, there was no mobile, no email, nothing was there. It was all that landline. I said, hey, these are my first customers. I have met them personally. Why do you need to put them into a database? That database is today a database of close to about 10 million. And this is the largest database in a department store business. 75% of the business comes from this. Yeah. So what's the learning from there? If you're ignorant, the best learning that you can have is from your customers. And in this situation, I can tell you, if you're in the business that you are in, the best learning is if you go into the shoes of your client. Unfortunately, this word client is not a right word in any partnership. Because client is a word where you're sitting on the opposite side of the table. Okay? Whereas businesses happen when you sit on the same side of the table. Because you always work for somebody else. Okay, if you're in comm, if you're in PR, you're trying to do something for this client somewhere else to reach somebody else. So you be on this side of the table. And that's another philosophy we started in terms of our vendors. So every vendor in Shoppers was called partners. And we used to have an annual event called Partnership for Progress. For the first time in the country, we opened up our books to vendors online, which means any vendor in the ecosystem could actually access our system. I'm talking of early 1990s, and know his accounts, know his inventory situation, know everything about his business with us. Why did we do this? I realized that information is power. And people use information to become powerful. The moment the information went away, it got democratized. I mean, today look at what's happened. I mean, the richest man in the world knows the same information which his driver has. Probably richest man doesn't have time to look at every second. The driver has all the time to look at every second. So maybe he'll tell the boss, 5 minutes pehle ye hua. It's because it's got democratized. Now that really changed the equation of the way the business was built. And don't forget, I was the first employee of the company. This company was owned by the Raheja family. Till the time we went public in 2005, okay, everybody thought I am the owner. In fact, the day we went public, it got oversubscribed, got so many calls. Congratulations for becoming a billionaire. I had to say, boss, I am an employee in this company. Okay? We had ESOPs. So why did people think like that? I was not a shareholder, but I was an owner. And that is, again, a very critical part of building any business. Ownership has to be built not by others, but yourself. I go to companies and talk to them, and every time I ask them this saying, how many of you are owners of the company? Nobody will raise hands, yeah? The front row, all the CXOs and CEOs will raise hand. I'll keep quiet. After 10 seconds, the next guy will raise hand. Then 20 will raise, 80 will not raise. I said, I didn't ask the question, how many of you are shareholders of the company? My question is, how many of you are owners of the company? And I think this is important, whether you're a 3-man company, 5-man company, 5,000 company. Today, Shoppers has close to about 15,000 people, started with just 13 employees. Over the last 33 years, I think close to 35,000 employees have come and gone and crossed. I mean, half of industry CEOs and CXOs are ex-Shoppers Stop because it's been a ground from where people have actually grown. Now, how does this ownership happen? I was an unknown person who came from Bangalore to Mumbai, and here is a family which just gave me the keys of a property and allowed me to do something. They enabled me and empowered me. And ownership only happens when you enable and you empower, whereas a lot of startups, believe that the power is with the owner. I'm not saying power as power. I can do everything this guy cannot do, and that's the biggest mistake. And that's why you have all these issues of stress and whatever. To me, this is a critical part, and I don't know how many of you have heard of Metropolis, the lab. I was talking to Amira Shah, the founder, fabulous story for you to read. I was asking Amira, I said, what is one of the mistakes that you think you did in life? She said, I should have appointed my CXO team 5 years back. Because what I am not good at doing, I was trying to do. And what I am good at doing, I was not doing, and the company did not grow. And after I appointed them, the company has grown 3 times. So a lot of us do not enable and empower our immediate people because we think I know it all, or I can do it all. But that's not, and that's why you find that many startups which has multiple co-founders do well, because there are multiple people who are enabled and empowered to do well. So that's the way the organization started, and finally, in 2005, we went public. And in 2009, I stepped out of Shoppers Stop as the managing director of the company, the peak of my career, highly influenced by my father, who always believed in the philosophy of giving back. And being what I am, influenced by him, I said, I formed a kind of a philosophy which works for me, and it's interesting to quote also. Yeah, I call this as 25 years of learning, 25 years of earning, and 25 years of returning. And that's where at the age of 50, I stepped out of Shoppers Stop as a managing director and started this not-for-profit called TRRAIN, which actually works towards empowering retail employees on the front end. It's a personal charity that started. I have a co-founder and a CEO who, along with me, runs the charitable trust. We picked up 4 words, and these words are very common with across industries where you work at the lower level. You work with the hinterland, with people across serving customers. First was pride. I mean, I don't want to say that I work in retail because it's not supposed to be a glamorous industry, and which is true. Even today, after so many things, nobody wants to ask their son and daughter to go and work in retail, although you will send them to McDonald's to work and earn a little pocket money. So we built a project for this, and we said, the best days in the world of celebration, Eid, Christmas, Diwali, New Year, is the worst day for a retail employee. When you're shopping at 10:30 at 11, somebody is helping you shop, and after you leave, you have to go. When you go to a restaurant in the morning for breakfast, you see all the tables laid down and only 4 people eating. Do you realize that previous night, after everything closes, they have to set the table before they go? Even if there are 4 tables to be occupied, all the 50 tables have to be set. And if only 4 people have eaten and gone, all the 40 tables have to be reset. So I said, why can't we celebrate a day which is their Eid, their Diwali, their Christmas? And we just came out and said 12th of December will be called Retail Employees Day in 2011. To cut the story short, last year, close to 20 million people celebrated Retail Employees Day in 33 countries. I have not been to any of these countries. What I'm telling is, I know your PR, com. See, unless there is what's in it for me, is the first learning. You have to get that across. And the second learning is, you should be willing to give. And I'll tell you what we did. The first year, we actually created a campaign called Thank You Bola Kya, TRRAIN Idea. 50 companies celebrated. Next year, we separated the Thank You Bola Kya and the TRRAIN Idea. We made it 2, not 1 part of logo. 500 companies celebrated, 300 of them took away the TRRAIN idea. Okay, it was retail employees, it became their idea. Okay, and today, across the world, people are celebrating. Nobody knows who started this, but everybody is enjoying because they took over the ownership of a property that we created. So a lot of people ask me, what happened to your IP? Oh, there's no question of IP. This is something we want to evangelize. So that's the way that we actually build up this day. And the second, of course, was on respect. The world has the best of awards, CEO, general manager, everybody, but nobody recognizes the front-end soldiers of the industry, most of them, factory workers. So we started an award to recognize them through storytelling. That again has gone global. Now, every alternate year, we have an award to select the best 6 associates in the world of department store. We have gone across the country and done it. The third challenge was inclusion. I don't know how many of you know that India is the only country where you have a one shop for every 150 citizens. The only country. You put your hand this side, there's a kirana. Put your hand that side, there's a kirana. And do you realize what happened in COVID? We are probably one of the only countries where there was no fight for food. Food reached your door. You did not go out of the house. I did not go. I used to open that, put my hand outside through a jali, and there'll be somebody who'll be bringing grocery. But that somebody was working to reach the grocery every day. That's the kind of inclusive system we have. But they felt we are not including them. Even today, they feel so. So we started a program on inclusion to make retail industry more inclusive. We realized India has 26 million persons with disability, and retail has 46 million people, and there is a large attrition. So we started a program to skill persons with disability and put them into retail ecosystem. 2011, we skilled 22 people. After that, every year we have doubled. This year we'll end up March 31st skilling 8,250 of them. And cumulatively, we skilled about 45,000 such youth. Yeah. And 75% of them are working in retail. 50% of the 75% are deaf, what we call as speech and hearing impaired. And they are the most valuable employees of this company. So we started there, then IKEA came and said, can you do this for women? So we actually worked for IKEA for women from marginalized communities. Now that's also become a program. 3 years back we started. Skilled about 15,000 girls from very poor families. All of them are working and have tremendous pride in what they do. It's close to about 55,000 people we have done. And when I started, everybody said the same thing. You are from corporate, you're now run an NGO, your charity ka kaam dusra hai. For the first conference that I went, I was wearing a suit, and I was the only one wearing the suit. The organizers came and said, sir, aap suit pehen ke aa gaye? I said, kya karna tha? Sir, nahi sir, you should have worn a kurta pajama. I said, Arey, I mean, this is thinking, not the way I look. But from there, everybody said, you can't run a charitable business. But today we have reached something. And next week we are meeting to say, I mean, from 55,000 people we impacted in the last 10 years, can we impact 1 million people over the next 10 years? You remember the story of zeros, no? So we added a few zeros. But this is the North Star. You want to think of something, you want to reach something. And the last project that we are working on is about development, because when we spoke to them, they said, sir, padhe likhe nahi hai, koi padhata nahi hai, aage kaise badhenge? Okay, and this is a challenge if you look at it. You go to the corporates, retailers, they say the attrition is so high, how can we put money on training? You go to them, they are saying nobody is developing us, so why should we stay? We like to go and every few months we'll actually shift over. So that's been the journey. But during this journey, I also realized sometime in 2000 that you can't create any business or market on your own. You need to have collaboration and partners. We did collaborate with our partners, which is our vendors, but we never collaborated with competitors because that thing doesn't go. Zahin mein aata hi nahi ki how can you actually go and collaborate with your competitors? But I said, if we don't collaborate with the competitors, how do we actually create a larger pie? Fortunately, I met everybody, from Mr. Noel Tata to Kishore Biyani to Ram Krishna, everybody in the top 5 retailers who are started by them, and together we started a association called Retail Association of India in 2005. Today it's the largest association. So it is the public policy making body of retail in the country. But my question and submission is that many a times you can actually collaborate with your competitors, because today most businesses work on only one vertical. I mean, and there's a natural collaboration happening. Today you are delivering whatever you're delivering your product through Amazon, which is a marketplace. So you're collaborating with Amazon. There is some delivery guy who's actually taking your product and reaching to the customer. So you're collaborating with a delivery guy. So if you look at a supply chain or value chain of your own business that you run, you'll actually find that there are a lot of components which are happening with various people. But these are all happening as a part of the value chain and you're adopting it. But you can also be part of a creation. So I am a very strong believer that if you actually work along with your competitors, work along with industry bodies, with a focus on the end result of your customer, there's a lot you can actually achieve. So that has been the journey, and what you see in the book is actually, it's not an autobiography. That book is not a chronicle of the way Shoppers has grown over the last so many years. It's a story of what I have seen. You can pick any chapter, and it's a story by itself. I mean, probably this is the first time in the industry you'll find a chapter on mistakes, because I am known for Shopper Stop, I'm known for Retail Association, I'm known for TRRAIN that we created, the three bodies over the last 33 years. But nobody talks about my failure of Hypercity. Nobody talks about my failure of Time Zone. Nobody talks about my failure. I mean, there are 8 failures to me versus 3 success. So somewhere the PR and the commerce work very well for me. But we have actually put a chapter on mistakes. Yeah, because to me, I always say to the youngsters that please don't make a new mistake. Buy my book, learn the mistakes, and start from here. It only costs you $5.99, but I have spent 500 crores before these mistakes were learned. So that's how the book has been. And there's also a chapter on how I see Retail 2.2. And maybe if we have during the question and answer, we'll talk about it. I have a viewpoint on quick commerce, which is the hottest topic. Okay, but that's been my journey. And like I said, I have to go up to 75 years as per my own philosophy. And my wife thinks, I'm sure some astrologer must have told you that at 76 you'll conk off. So now I'm saying, no. My policy is 25, 25, 25. And the next 25 is family to enjoy. So now she believes I'll live for 100 years. Okay, but that's my plan. Thank you for inviting me. It's been a pleasure talking to you. And maybe during the Q&A, we'll be able to answer some of your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It was very enlightening. What you didn't say was how he was the first one to have customer care associates for all his employees. There was no hierarchy, nothing. And also, I think you were the first one to start the loyalty program in India. Yeah.
So I think the story of customer care associate is very interesting. Somewhere in 1994, 2 of my best employees resigned because one of them said, I have a fiancé and we want to get married, and my father-in-law says that if you're called a salesman, I won't marry you. Okay, this is almost like a film story. So he insisted and left. And immediately we had a meeting saying, if this is how our future of industry is, where father-in-laws will decide who will be in the company, this is not the way. So we actually went into a huddle and said, can we find out what is that one key thing that all of us do? And everybody said it is care. Our business is to take care of customers. So we said, let's call them customer care associates. Then in the huddle I said, but what is your role? What is his role, her role, my role? And we said, taking care of customers. So I said, why should they be called customer care associate and you be called general manager, CEO? So we took a call that all of us in the company, from top to bottom, will have only one common designation called customer care associate. We are probably the only company in the world where there's only single designation all across, and we followed by function. And what it did suddenly was, there's a huge amount of equalizer across the company. If I go into a store, okay, between the store associates and me, there were 10 levels. But when I'm standing next to him, and if I meet somebody and he says, I'm a customer care associate, I will also say I'm a customer care associate. So what do you do, Mr. Nagesh? No, I operate as a CEO. I mean, that actually brought in a tremendous amount of equalizer. A small thing, but a big change. And even today it is, it's like that only. Everybody is called a customer care associate.
So over the years, you've seen the retail landscape in India change. And what do you believe are the key factors driving this evolution?
There's one single key factor which has brought this evolution, and that is you, customer. A tremendous change in the customer, and I see a lot of women, so let me give you an example from that. In 1992 December, when we started the women's section, we were the first to set up a beauty section. We had 2 brands, Lakme and Tips and Toes. I see a lot of young faces. That time Tips and Toes was not there. And you can't believe, to request women, we had to beg them to stretch their hands so that we could apply nail polish for them to beg them. Huh? That's what I'm talking of, 1992. In 2007, we had a makeover marathon in Select City, Saket, where we did 1,000 makeovers in one day, where we had 3 generations sitting together and getting makeover done all through. I'm saying that's the change that has happened. I met a customer after about 5-6 years of Shopper Stop, and I was talking to the lady, ma'am, what is the biggest change you have seen? She said, Pehle na, I used to wear whatever and go. But now with this modern retail, if I have to go, my children tell me you better dress up properly and go. I mean, look at the behavioral change that has happened. And today also, it's all because of customers. Because India has been jumping, India has not taken a linear growth in anything. I mean, if you look at globally, the linear growth has happened in a barter system, then you have shops, then you have shopping centers, then you have malls, then you have discounters, Walmart, and then you have Amazon, and then whatever. In India, everything is together. So none of us got time to really mature anything that we were doing. Before we could mature, something else will come. So that's the second thing that has happened. And because of Jio, and I give a lot of credit to it, has democratized the whole shopping. And it has changed to an extent where we really don't know who is our competitor.
True.
The competition comes from somewhere else, okay? From a retailer. From a customer's wallet, the competitions become very intense. Because today the discretionary income that you have, I mean, you may decide not to buy a garment and go off to Goa and spend 2 weeks in Goa and come back. Now this is amazing. I mean, I thought that money was spent. All my research is showing she spent 20,000 rupees a year for this. And I go and check why she has not spent. No, I went to Goa, so I don't want to buy. Now look at the way the behaviors are changing. So one single element of change in the retail ecosystem is the consumer. And the second one is capital. Okay, the amount of capital infusion that's happened in the country in retail is unbelievable. Generally, if you look at the earlier years, 1990 to 2000, capital was put for productivity and return on capital. In the year 2010 and now, the capital is being put for creating businesses at the cost of burn. So people are now putting capital willing to lose money, which means to build business. I mean, this capital was not available there. And today, the topmost business houses, Tata, Ambani's, Birlas, all of them have come into retail. And they're pouring thousands and thousands and thousands of crores.
And what hasn't changed?
What hasn't changed? The fact that experience remains the common across. When we researched for Shopper Stop in 1991, the customers said, we're loving the experience. Today, if you look at quick commerce, it talks about experience of delivering in 7 minutes. Okay, so the word that has not changed is experience. And this is what I keep saying, and I'm maybe anti to many of people's theories. Experience in this world can be only delivered by humans. Okay, nature has made us in such a way that the mind and heart work together. Okay, picking any one of this and making things happen is not going to happen. So in every business, eventually I'm saying even for quick commerce, the heart has to tick. So experience is the key thing that has remained same from that time to this time. Everybody is chasing to build experience.
From 500 square feet to 50,000 square feet, who were your mentors in your career?
No, 500 to 50,000 square feet, there were no mentors, but there was one gentleman, my boss, who kept pulling me. So I never made a CV after my first CV. Yeah, from Blow Plus to Orson to Corona, it was my immediate boss who kept pulling me from one place to another. And he was the one who also pulled me into this 50,000 square feet. Post that, I don't have a single mentor, but I have learned from many leaders. And I really enjoy looking at, because you can't become Narayan Murthy. I can't become Mr. KV Kamath. I can't become Mahindra. Okay? But there's one aspect of Anand Mahindra that I can take it. So I think one of the things that we try to do is we try to clone and copy a role model, which is not right, because you are you. Okay? And you can become a better you only if you can take something and imbibe. So I have learned a lot from many of them. And my biggest mentor has been my mirror image. Okay, and that's something that a lot of people ask me. You were an employee, you started a business, so much of money went in, what amount of stress, who's helped you? And I say it's my mirror image, because if anybody can correct me, it is me, myself. And therefore, my own method has been to lock the door, go in front of the mirror, talk to the mirror, find out as to what you can do, and motivate yourself, because nobody can motivate you better than your own self. And that's the way that I have looked at all the mentors.
How did corporate communications influence the journey of building Shopper Stop brand?
Well, I think to me, the biggest corporate communication individuals were my customers. They actually took the benefits of what we were doing across to everybody. So that's the first. The second was, we did have I would say, a PR individual within the company, and we had perfect relations who were part of our partnerships at that point of time. It really helped in taking the experiments we were doing to the hinterland. I mean, if you go back and look at saying, when was the first time all the Disney characters came to India, it is Shop Stop. Where was Coca-Cola launched first time? It was Shop Stop. Okay. When was any trip called 7 Wonders of the World across 5 continents, a ticket created in the world? It was Shop Stop. When was the first Indian who went on an experience to Moscow to find zero gravity? Shop Stop. So everything that we did was unbelievable and stupid. I mean, this, we couldn't have reached it if this team did not really help us. Because, and you know how media is, with all due respect, yeah? So it was not easy for us to really cut into them. But the moment they are part of the experience, they really enjoyed it. And it really helped us.
What trends do you predict will shape the future of retail in India over the next decade?
The brick and mortar or the physical retail will remain in this country. Okay, because if you look at the social fabric of our country, and if you look at the kind of places we live in, retail is part of the ecosystem. Okay, and India is not building 500 Chandigarhs every month. Okay, where it's a new place. Okay, or if you look at Whitefield, maybe 10 years back, you said, "Oh, fabulous Whitefield." No, Whitefield, you can't move. I mean, it should be 35 minutes. That took 1 hour 20 minutes to reach here. So it's the physical ecosystem will remain. The question is, what is the mix of physical and digital the brand will provide or you will experience to make it better for you? Okay, so everybody say quick commerce, quick commerce. There is physicality of dark stores there. Okay, if you look at anybody else, I mean, whether Big Basket, all of them have started looking at the physical ecosystem. Whether you look at Goat or Mensa, which has all digital brands, they want to go physical. Because the customer still wants 2 elements. Exploring the sensories, and the second is a human experience. So we will have to really find ways to build retail taking these 2 elements away, which has not happened. But you're saying today's generation, maybe tomorrow's generation will not require that. I have an antithesis. I believe the power of human and the power of human connections, okay, will continue. It will change the way it is currently being operated.
What advice would you like to give young professionals aspiring to build a career in retail space?
If you love customers, if you want to learn outside in, this is the best place. This is the best place for you to break all your shackles and barriers. Because when you are in the front end, meeting the customers, you really don't know what the customer is to come with. I mean, I have seen the same customer coming on herself different, with a boyfriend different, with a mothers and fathers different. So it's not one customer for me, it's 4 customers, but you learn so much from there. And second is this tremendous growth. Retail is the only industry in the world where you don't require qualification to start off with. Okay, the largest retail chain in the world, Walmart CEO Doug McMillon started as a loader in the warehouse. Okay, smart guy, did his education, then went to Harvard and came back to Walmart, and today is Mr. Doug McMillon, the CEO of Walmart Global. My co-founder in TRRAIN, okay, she started a career as a sales girl. She has grown, and lastly, she was with Tata International as a non-food director. She joined me as the CEO of my trust. So if you look at it, I mean, look at all our youth who we put into the retail, speech and hearing impaired, polio-stricken, wheelchair-driven. They go into it, and then there is opportunity to grow. Because after the first level, you know, so most of retail employees on the front end will be 10th pass, 12th fail, that 5% graduates. But they have the chance to grow. I mean, yesterday I was in Whitefield, met 3 of our store managers. They started their career as a front-end customer care associate. Today they run a store of 60 crore, 100 crore with 150 people there. So that's something. So people, customer, and there is growth for you.
Awesome. Any questions?
Hi, Mr. Nagesh. I don't know. You will not recall, but we have met. I was with Business World and Business Today long back. Yeah. No, it's very interesting that you talked about the human connection and everything being human for humans. And I wanted to know your opinion of not Shoppers Stop or other retail companies, but so many companies now, turning over customer care questions to their bots, intelligent bots who probably do not answer it and lead to a lot of frustration, at least among older customers like us. So.
I think the answer is very simple. I mean, I and you know that to hold a current customer is so easy, but to get a new customer is so difficult. Yeah. In your statement, you used the word frustration. Yeah. So if a customer is frustrated, why would he go back to the same business? So this is not a bot trying to build business. This kind of a bot, which is leading to customer frustration, is a bot, okay, doesn't have a mind and a heart, is actually destroying the business. So I think whichever this organization is there in your mind should be actually looking at it and not have a bot or really do something different. I also find it sometimes extremely frustrating. In fact, there are one or two services, there is no contact number. There is no way you can even call them. Only way you can do is what, and sometimes you have to cross 30 questions. Okay, and the other thing which I should mention is India is a country where the largest amount of disposable and discretionary income is sitting with the 50 plus. Yeah, for the first time in India, 50 plus have actually become independent. Their children are earning themselves. They are growing very well. And they find it very difficult to adopt to certain new ways of doing it. And that's an opportunity. But I totally agree with you that these kind of role models will have to rebuild. Otherwise, customers will leave them. And that's why I'm sure you must have seen as part of your COPCOM, there's a huge team which is only looking at the glass doors of the world, the huge team which is actually looking at how many negative comments are coming in. Okay, a positive comment is a like, a negative comment is an explanation. Yeah.
Hello, sir. My name is Watson. I'm from St. Aloysius. For many of us, Shopper Stop was our first experience of a multi-brand store. I myself have a very fond memory of crying on the floors of Shopper Stop because my parents wouldn't buy me something. Today, quick commerce offers that to every single person, which enables accessibility. That in this question is, the availability of multiple choices. You can swipe through probably millions of outfits at one time. But it also enables a lack of human touch, wherein we can go into the trial room and try out those multiple outfits. How does Shopper Stop tackle this?
Well, this has been a challenge, but let's not forget that Indian retail and consumption is still a big opportunity. Just to give you an idea, Indian consumption is about $1 trillion US, out of which food is about 550 billion US dollars. The balance is non-food. If you look at the modern retail is not even about 15% of the total. So the big pie of $1 trillion is going by 5%. So even if you look at the growth of $1 trillion, you're adding $50 billion every year. So there's a huge amount of growth. So market is increasing, the pie is increasing, and people are taking shares. If you talk of Shopper Stop as a brick and mortar, we have got impacted. Yeah. If you look at our own ability to compete online, okay, with the Amazons and the Flipkarts, it is very low because they have put billions of dollars and we don't have the ability to put in, okay? And it's a strange thing, okay? A listed company, you put money to make loss, okay, investors will kill you. An unlisted startup, the more losses you make, the more value you create. Okay, but that's the reality. So there is challenges for the existing ecosystem, but I think we have seen growth coming back. You'll be surprised that post-COVID, customers have actually started coming back into the stores physically in order to go through the experience. Yeah. Did your parents finally buy you what you wanted? You didn't. Bad job done in Shopper Stop. Did anybody give you a chocolate there because you were crying? They gave you a chocolate. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah. Yeah, because we had this. Okay, I'll take 30 seconds for a very beautiful story. When we are doing the research, this whole thing came that we trust Shopper Stop. Anyhow, we opened the children's section and we said, let's keep a play area, so that parents can shop and we can leave the child there. This happened in Andheri and I was there. I was a store manager. So one day a couple came with a young child, 3-4 years at 11, and they started shopping and the child was in the play area. At 12:30, the supervisor comes and says, sir, there's a child, we are not able to see the parent. So we all got worried, 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. Then 3:30, these two couple came hanging around and say, how are you and all that. We said, boss, you left your child. He said, we know. We left your child and went to shop in Mumbai, Navi Mumbai. Why? He says, no, we trust Shopper Stop that you will take care of it. After that, we closed that because we said we can't set up a babysitting company. Yeah. So that's what happens when you build trust. What I'm saying is it's a very important factor for you to understand that how much of trust have you built. Okay, and trust, you build a trust out of the kind of culture you create. And culture is a manifestation of the cumulative behavior of individual values. Okay, a lot of people ask me saying, how do you build a culture? No, you don't build a culture. Culture is an outcome. Okay, it's the cumulative behavior. They say in our country, we have seen culture defined as families. I'll give my daughter to that family. Unka culture acha hai. What is it? It is the behavior of the family and the reputation they have built. So trust actually builds there. And it's not something you can switch it on or switch it off. It takes a long time to build that.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay. My name is Kavya and I'm from Swiggy. So my question is a little just to add on to what he just said. You spoke very beautifully about the experience of a retail store, which I completely agree with because I never buy things online when it comes to like clothes. I love the fact that you can go there, try out clothes, and then there's that touch and feel, which I don't think any quick commerce or Amazons or whatever company, they couldn't do this part of it. However, coming and having worked with Swiggy, I believe that there is this bit of convenience that is offered to consumers from a quick commerce point of view, and that's the biggest game that we play. To say, how can we make our consumers' life easier? And in both these ecosystems, one thing that's very common is the obsession about making it a good experience for your consumer and making it convenient for your consumers. So my question to you, just to add on to what he was saying, is how is it that we can amalgamate or marry these two things? One is experience and convenience. How are we going to amalgamate or make this experience where we are giving them the experience of touch and feel and maybe add on convenience to the other aspects that does not require an experience?
So the convenience is a given factor. Okay, there is no way that the customer will become inconvenient to take your services. Okay, the question you have to ask from the brand is that what's the long-term brand building that's happening by using the quick commerce route? Most of the brands lose the identity of themselves, okay, within 1 second of the order being placed. I have not heard anybody saying, I bought food from Rajdhani. They say, I bought food from Swiggy. Okay, I think that's the biggest. And to this extent, now you know what's happening in QSR. They're fighting because the Swiggies and the Zomatos have started their own dark stores or own private brand. Now, this is a danger. And that's the reason I've mentioned the Mensas and the Goats are now going back and saying we need to also put a physical store. Because eventually, what value do you create? Only two. Either your brand or your customer affection. Now, in this case, the other problem is the last mile delivery of the brand is also not their own. The last mile delivery that happened through Swiggy or Zomato, that guy has both the apps. Sometimes he switches on Swiggy, wears his Swiggy jacket and goes and delivers. Sometimes he puts a Zomato jacket and goes and delivers. So from whom am I getting this? My house, the call I get is, sir, delivery aaya hai. If he's a little smarter, sir, Swiggy se delivery aaya hai. The actual brand is lost. So it's a very complicated thing. So what will happen over a period of time is the mediator and the channel partner will become a brand. So you have to be very clear as to how do you really build the brand. And that's where I think the human touch will come. So for example, we tried something. Because our delivery also happens through partners, so we created a perfume, a small 5 ml perfume, exclusively created for Shopper Stop. And we put that perfume into every bag. So although it may get delivered through any delivery agent, when you open the bag, open the cover, okay, this perfume automatically starts giving you the fragrance. So we said at least let the customer start relating to the fragrance and say, ye khushbu keval Shopper Stop se aati hai. You know, these are elements we have tried. I'm not saying we become successful. But I'm a very strong believer that without human interference and touch, okay, you cannot build anything in the world. Okay, and nature has taught us this. I hope I'm wrong. Or I hope I'm made right. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Nagesh sir, for this immensely insightful session today. I request Archana to please present Nagesh with a Sparkle gift card.